Gung-ho reaction, a topic taboo. Hey there, kids, it's Folie.
Wow, I think that was the calmest
It was
5 seconds we've ever done.
I think it has something to do with the rain coming down.
Yes.
And the nice, cool, calm air that is in the studio at the moment.
It's such cool air. Usually it's pretty darn stuffy in here.
I think that's one reason why we sort of really lose our minds about halfway through each episode.
Yeah.
Because we're usually slightly inebriated.
Uh-huh.
We have made no plan for the episode.
Mm-hmm.
And then we become pretty overheated.
Warm and you start getting that
it goes to your head.
claustrophobic feeling. It could probably happen now because I shut the door.
Yeah.
And I lit a candle, and this room just gets so hot so fast. Also, we're sitting in it. So.
Yeah, I know. And all those toots. I mean, no, because we look the way I get it now. We look good.
We look amazing.
Yeah. And even though apparently, secretly, you're suffering, but you don't look like it at all.
Thank you. I masked it with tons of product.
It worked.
And drugs.
Yeah, you do.
Legal drugs.
I mean, you do have a mildly glazed look to your eye.
Yeah.
Which tells me that you may not be 100% there right now.
Yeah, which is kind of ideal for this
I think so too.
situation, this podcast. Yeah.
I feel a little bit left out because all I've got in my system right now is a giant Coke with cherry and lemon.
Well, I mean,
that's pretty weird.
You're always weird, though.
That's true.
You're just, I'm just meeting you. I'm up to your level now, finally.
I think some people probably assume that I have done some things in my life that I really haven't.
Yeah, I would.
I haven't experimented with many drugs at all.
Many drugs?
Not, at least not at the same time.
No. No. You're not that crazy. Speaking of weirdness.
Oh, so weird.
Oh my gosh. So first we should start off by telling our listeners who have been here with us for the 22nd time, if anybody has actually listened to each episode.
I believe that they exist.
I do too.
Yeah.
And I think there are some out there. Actually, I would say my mom. However,
Doreen.
She has not listened to the last probably 4 or 5.
What?
She keeps saying over the last few weeks, I need to catch up on those. And I think she's grown bored with us.
Oh my goodness.
So if my own mother has.
That used to be our slogan, that our moms like us.
Yeah, now we're going to have to think of something. Our moms used to like us.
Listen, Doreen, we're going to give you some good content that has a point.
We're at least going to try.
We're going to try.
And they say, someone says out there, I'm sure, that at least try. And if you don't succeed, at least you tried.
At least you tried. And then if you try again,
you could succeed. You might still fail.
Because most people fail. I mean, let's face it.
You're probably just a failure.
Yeah, we only hear the success stories, and there aren't that many.
I know. It may seem like it, but in the grand scheme of the world and how many people live on it, it's so few and far between.
So think of it this way. If you are a failure, you're in good company right now listening to us.
But we talked about last week how it was our 21st episode. We were coming of age. We turned 21. And what happens when you turn 21? You feel like you really... It's when you're starting to get your ish together, right?
Yeah, you get a lot of crap out of your system,
which
sometimes quite literally the next morning. And you realize, you know what? This is my life. This is a thing that I'm doing. If I'm in it for the long haul, maybe I should have some vague notion of a plan.
Yeah. And so like a 21-year-old, we decided that we are going to come up with a plan. Actually, we didn't decide it. We thought of something and then we were like, that's it.
Yeah, the plan really came on us.
It did. And that's kind of what I think happens to a lot of people.
I think so too.
If you're searching for it, It's not, if you search and you plan and you work hard, it's not going to come to
No,
you.
don't do any of that.
But if you just BS your way through life, eventually it will come.
My favorite quote is showing up is enough.
Yes.
I'm not even going to say it's 80% of success. It is success.
Yeah.
Show up and eventually something mildly interesting will happen.
It will show up alongside you.
Yes.
And for us, it was that, from the beginning, we said, we're going to do this. That was not us. That was too structured and too planned. Then we said, we're going to do this. I think we went through at least I would say every school phase a person goes through.
It pretty much is like following somebody's life and all of the crises and all of the mistakes and just how kind of painful it is to look back on it.
Yeah.
But you know what? We put it out there for you because we didn't know what else to do.
Yeah. All this to say that now we are taking the structure of this podcast, and it is still going to be as probably nonsensical as it always has been.
As it has been for the last 6 minutes.
Uh-huh. But we are going to have a point every single week, okay? We have turned it into Folie, Deux, something weird.
Weird.
Okay? Because that makes sense. It's who we are. That's kind of what we do. But each week, Amy and I are going to discuss, along with our random ramblings, something weird.
Any freaking weird thing we want.
Anything. It can be weird news that's happening today. It can be weird news that happened 100 years ago. It can be just something weird that we learned about ourselves and that we want to share.
Big weird things,
Little
small
weird
weird things that are maybe not as weird as we thought they were.
Yeah. It's weird to me. It might not be weird to you.
Yeah.
And that we need to say as well. Just because we say something is weird does not mean it's an insult. In fact,
in our book, it is the highest form of currency.
Exactly. So if we say something is weird and it happens to be something that you really love, doesn't mean we don't love it.
No, it probably means we'd get along real well.
Yeah. It just means that it's something out of our realm of
the mind-numbing
understanding,
mundaneness.
Yeah.
Of everyday existence.
I like that.
Because existence is pain.
And weird.
Yeah.
Very weird.
So let's get to it.
Let's get to it. Should we talk about the weird ass thing that happened to us this week?
Here's the thing. Weirdness follows us everywhere. This is why weirdness has chosen us. We have not chosen it.
We've just embraced it.
I will go ahead and start the story and say that I am probably getting ready for bed. I think it's about 10 o'clock at night.
Yep.
I probably took the Benadryl that I needed because my allergies are being crazy. Brush my hair, whatever, 100 strokes in the mirror, singing Disney songs. And I look at my phone and I have the most hilarious text from Mel. She has taken our faces and used some sort of program to put them together into this funny, beautiful little image. And I was like, wow, we're actually really cute together. I mean, that looks like a real person, but it's so weird how perfectly she blended it. So I write back, oh, that's hilarious. And I don't remember exactly what she responded, but it became clear to me that I was under a misapprehension.
What was the best part of it is that I had sent the message and said, this is exactly what we would like our child would look like.
Yes.
And my favorite part of this whole thing was watching your text messages come through because you're like, oh, that's so funny. And then you're like, it looks so, I wish I had the message right here. Like it looks
I was like,
exactly
it looks good.
Yeah.
We'd make a beautiful love child.
The dots keep coming and she's like, oh my God, more dots. That's a real freaking person, isn't it? Holy shit. And then they just keep coming and I'm dying laughing because it is a real human that I had found.
Who stumbled across Melody's path in an unlikely way.
Yes.
In another Facebook group.
Yes, for another podcast, believe it or not.
This was not a face mashup. This was a girl with I don't even know how to say it. She has Melody's eyebrows and nose and hair.
Uh-huh.
She has my eyes and my mouth right down to my gap
teeth.
And
oh my God.
it is the weirdest, most amazing bone structure, everything.
Everything.
It's a perfect blend.
I would say the lips, your lips too.
Mm-hmm.
And you have very like unique, like different they're not just like everyday lips.
No, they're kind of weird, and not in a bad way, but kind of, that slightly lopsided smile that makes you look like you're doing a smirk.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit of that going on, plus the gap. Oh, plus your nose ring.
My nose ring, I think, on your nose.
Yeah.
It is so crazy. She has these bangs that go straight across like me, reddish hair.
Mm-hmm.
Mine is dark now, so is hers. It is insane. So I creepily first I run into Josh's room, and my roommate, for those of you who may just now be tuning in, I run into his room and I'm like, look at this. Isn't this mine and Amy's love child? And he, I think at first thought it was like a Snapchat mashup too.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, is that a real, oh my God, no, wait, let me see it again. No, take it away. He is dying. Like,
he couldn't look at it.
Yeah, he couldn't look at it, but he couldn't stop looking at it. And then I'm getting all these like flood of emails or messages from Amy. She's so surprised. I'm still flabbergasted by it. So I send this girl, Jess, a message on Facebook, and I say, hey, I realize that this is going to be super creepy, but after you commented on my photo in the Natch Butte pod, I had to creep your profile. And immediately I realized that you are the perfect mashup of my best friend Amy and I. And I send her a picture of herself. And then I send her a picture of Amy and I together. And I'm like, see? And then I was like, feel free to block me and get a restraining order now. I realize this is creepy. And I don't hear anything from her until the next day.
Mm-hmm.
And she is just as amazing and awesome as I would expect
from someone who has
us.
our personalities.
Yes. And she couldn't believe it either. And she showed her husband, and she said that he was scream laughing, that they could not handle it.
They couldn't. And if you want to be in that couldn't can place, you should get in our Facebook group.
Yes. Because Folie podcast.
Folie
on
podcast.
Facebook.
You will see have you not seen our faces?
I mean,
oh my gosh.
you should.
And you should see Jess, because she's very cool, very down with our creepiness.
Yes.
Even sent me a friend request. And I'll tell you what the kicker was.
Uh-huh.
When we made a joke after both having been friends with her for about one day.
Yeah.
That she needs to save her kidneys for me. She just went right along with it.
She totally went right along with it. And she has, she's our third. Like,
she is.
She lives in LA.
She's 5'6", by the way, and
She's
so are we.
5'6". By the way, she always gets in the last episode, right? We talked about how, or maybe the one before, we talked about how I always get called Jess from the New Girl.
Mm-hmm.
And what's funny is Josh was like, what's this girl's name? And I said, it's Jess. And he was like, oh God, of course it is. And then she messages me and is like, hey, I always get told I look just like Jess from New Girl too. And so I'm like, oh, of course. And then we get to talking more and realize that we both hate being barefoot. Like, we always have to wear shoes,
which is where I part company with you both.
I know, it's crazy.
You're wearing shoes right now.
I am.
And the first thing, I mean, I seriously, I get into your house, I don't think 30 seconds goes by and my shoes are off.
I may, if my feet are going to be off the floor, I can kick off my shoes and put them up on this chair and be great. But as soon as my feet hit the floor, they've got to be covered. The first thing I do in the morning is put shoes on.
That's so weird.
Hey, unless, here's the exception. I love being barefoot when I am on tall, billowy grass.
Ooh,
where it is.
Like you want to brush it.
Yes.
So,
it's so
it looks like
full
a
and
giant's baby head fuzz.
And then I can't handle it. Then I feel, I don't know. I feel, I guess you can feel like one with the earth if we're going to be all hippy dippy about it.
Yeah. It's actually proven scientifically that it's Good for you.
And I know, but when it's crunchy, like hurtful ground, I don't like it, and it just makes me pissed off at the earth. But when it is on that beautiful lush grass,
So you were just born to be a forest nymph.
or in the sand.
Sand. Oh, God, yes. Everything should have sand. I'm going to take all the carpet out of my house and put sand down.
I think that is a wonderful idea.
Don't think I won't. You never have to
I don't
sweep
think
again.
you won't. I don't
The
think
cats have a world of litter box.
Ugh. I don't want to be a part of that
I'm gonna
sand.
think about this some more later.
So go check out our Facebook page. Check out Jess. She's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
We look exactly the same.
We're going to have her on the show someday,
Mhm.
and that's going to bring about the end of the world.
For sure. I
But
told her
it's
to come to
inevitable.
Arkansas. She said, okay. I think we should do that. But if in the meantime, maybe we'll just do a Skype call, record it, and have her on, because we have got to connect somehow face to face, even if
Yes.
via internet.
It's weird. She's weird. We're weird.
And we love it.
It got real weird.
It got real weird real fast. And everybody that we posted it on our regular Facebook pages and our Folie page, and people were losing their freaking minds.
Yeah, it wasn't just us. This is not like one of those, oh, I can kind of see it. This was, I thought that was a picture of me.
Yes. Like, oh my, everybody thought that I had photoshopped Amy's face onto my face.
It's great.
It's
And
amazing.
I would like to come up with a few theories for it. I
Do it.
think we could all be distantly related, perhaps.
You guys share the same dad.
Yeah. Yeah, we're half siblings. And
Yes.
you guys share the same mom.
Exactly.
Well, then, wait, then are you and I related? Or we're
Yes.
just both related to her?
Oh. Now I'm confused.
I am too.
Somehow we're related,
Okay.
and it's freaky AF.
Here's the other thing, too. Somebody has been listening to the first 20 episodes of this podcast,
Mhm.
and they thought, those two girls make the perfect human.
Ooh.
But the two of them, it's just a bit much. So they took our DNA,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
easily done. I mean, we leave it all over the place.
All over, willingly.
Willingly. We do it on purpose.
Yes.
Fingernails, hair samples, whatever.
Yep.
Bodily fluids.
I was just gonna say that.
Oh, of course you were. And they created Jess.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they had to grow her really fast overnight in a lab,
Yeah,
but they can do that.
they definitely can.
They can, everyone knows that happens. And then they just had to inject her with a bunch of fake memories.
I think this is the best. I mean, this is the most logical.
I think so too. And I'm sorry to tell you, Jess, that you may not actually be a real person in the real sense of the word.
but we
But
think you're real.
To us, you are human
The
and important.
realest and the illest. If you willest.
You want to hear something else weird?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Did you know that when two identical twins have children,
Mm-hmm.
legally, what would they be considered?
Like best friends.
Cousins, of course.
Cousins,
And
yeah.
but best friends.
Cousins.
Genetically,
Mm-hmm.
they are half siblings
What?
because they each have a parent with the same identical DNA.
That's freaky.
It's weird. It's downright weird, and that's just to warm us up.
I want to talk to some people who have that,
Yeah.
who are cousins from
Identical
another
twins.
Muslims. And I want to say, like, I wonder if they have, like, also.
There are so many lemon
I
seeds
wondered what you
in my
pulled out of your
Coke.
mouth earlier. I wonder if they have, like, very similar features and stuff
Yeah,
as well.
like siblings would.
Yeah.
We've got it.
I
Okay.
want to know about
Identical
this.
twin listeners,
Mhm.
email us.
Yeah.
Do we ever check our email?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Every day. It's connected to my
Aw,
phone account.
Okay,
So.
so we've confirmed that we've never gotten an
We
email.
never have gotten an email.
Okay,
No.
good to know.
It's wonderful. It makes me feel great all the
I mean,
time.
even after we basically
We're, like,
asked
begging.
for dick
Please.
pics. We're like, send anything.
Yeah, we did. Nope.
And the creepers out there are like, eh.
What if we said, if you send us an email we will automatically send you one of our dick pics.
Yes, we will.
Yeah.
Okay, we're waiting.
Ooh, we are still not getting anything.
Yeah, well,
although this hasn't yet
this
aired.
hasn't aired, so let's be positive.
We'll give it a
could
day.
happen.
Yeah.
So, Melody,
Yeah.
do you want to tell me something weird?
I want to tell you something weird.
Please do.
A faux show. Do you want me to go first?
Oh, if you want to.
Okay. I'm excited. Okay, so I will say this. I'm a little nervous because we recorded this Something Weird episode last week.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I think either my mic was halfway unplugged or I had the mic turned a weird way or both. And the sound on my end was atrocious. Like, I could not listen to it. Nobody else would have been able to. So we have to re-record. But the whole Jess situation hadn't happened yet.
Yeah.
And I think it was just like totally a fit.
And I'll tell you something else.
Tell me.
What I shared with my apparent perfectly fine mic sound was shite.
I know it couldn't have worked out that your crap story had the worst sound.
It wasn't even a story at all.
No,
it was just
I'm
a
giving
bit
you-
of random critic.
I'm giving you a hard
Trivia.
time. Yeah, it wasn't bad, but I feel like
I wasn't happy with it.
yeah, and also we came to more ideas of what we were going to do with
Yeah.
this after we had done that. I think it was just a good projecting point,
Yeah.
jumping off point. What do you
projectile,
call it?
a launching point.
Launching.
I like,
Is that it?
Launch pad? No,
Launch
jumping off point?
Pad McQuack. Lunch.
What?
Lunch. Anyway, it was a good
You know what we're
starting
saying.
off point, and then we just refined it from there to this amazing structure.
Yes.
And I'm going to tell you now the story that I told last week. I hope that it is just as exciting to hear the second time.
I'm priveted, which
Yes.
means I'm pre-riveted,
Yes.
and I plan to be post-riveted and middle riveted as well.
I hope that I can fully rivet you.
I need a good riveting.
Don't we all? So my weird story is that of Sir Vincent Van Gogh. Vincent Van Gogh. I don't think he was knighted, but
The Vincent Van Gogh.
the Vincent Van Gogh. And you may think, Vincent Van Gogh, we all know the story of him. What is there to tell?
Yeah,
It could
I mean,
be so weird.
Dude finished his final painting. He wasn't too happy, right? And then
He was led a very tortured life and offed himself. Sorry, that was poor. No, that was in poor taste. Sorry.
no, we love him so much.
He is,
We're saying that way because we're saying it with disdain.
yes.
Disdain for the non-fact that it is.
Non-fact, you say. Isn't it true? Didn't he shoot himself in
That's
the
what I
tum-tum?
believed. I believed it my whole life.
As do many and most and almost all.
Almost.
But no.
Oh,
Vincent
no.
Van Gogh did not kill himself.
What are you saying?
I am saying Vincent Van Gogh was murdered.
We're not laughing at the murder.
We're laughing at whatever it was that I just did. That's right. Vincent Van Gogh did not kill himself, as we have all been told for the last over 100 years. He was murdered, as some have found.
Yes.
Studies have been shown.
Compelling evidence.
There
has
is
been
compelling evidence
brought forth.
and I am about to divulge.
Please.
Okay. So first of all, I did this same thing last time, didn't I? I couldn't remember the name of this book. Okay. There's a book, Vincent Van Gogh. No, there's a book, Van Gogh, A Life.
I
And-
love that that's so hard for you to remember.
It's so hard. I don't know why. Van Gogh, A Life. And if you want to know more about the story of Vincent Van Gogh from beginning to end, read this book. It's awesome. But it it talks of how, yes, Vincent was tortured and tormented in his own brain for most of his life. He worked very, very hard on his art, and it was not recognized for most of his life. And he was watching many of his friends around him who were artists get recognized, and it was bullcrap.
That would be so hard, and I'm just thankful that Facebook wasn't around at the time.
Oh my gosh!
Can you imagine those artists like, oh, I just had a showing in Paris.
Yeah,
here's
and
a
he's
selfie
like,
with this other famous artist,
trying so hard, and yeah. So there was the whole incident with the ear, right? We all know he cut off part of his ear,
just part,
a part. Guys,
he didn't
it
cut
wasn't
off
the whole darn thing.
Okay.
And I just call that passion.
I do too.
And, maybe he just did it to get a really cool self-portrait afterwards.
Maybe it was an accident.
He was
trimming
acting, method painting.
Some people have ear hair. I've seen it.
And he was tired of it. He was tired of all the trimming.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, I'm just going to get rid of the whole thing.
Yeah, it can't grow on a
scab.
An ear stump. A scabby ear stump. Because that's how I'm going to get a girl.
Yes. So, yeah. 2 years before his death, the ear incident had happened, okay? That doesn't seem like that long, but really...
A lot can happen in 2 years.
A lot can happen. And a lot did happen. So, in that time, he had gone through rehab again. He was doing quite well. Some of his paintings had started to sell.
Mm-hmm.
He had started getting recognized. He had a really good, a really well-known art critic.
Which is a huge deal.
Yes.
Recommend him and then
do that stuff.
Tout his virtues.
These words are hard. His work was featured in a Paris magazine, a magazine based in Paris. I don't know what it was.
Parisian.
Yes.
Yeah, and everyone read those back then. I mean, what else did they have to do?
Exactly. So things were looking up for our dear friend Vincent. Okay? Why in the world, when you were trying that hard for so many years and you start to get recognized, why would you do it? Why would you kill yourself? Okay? So those are arguments that can be made. Also, the very week that he had died, he had put in a huge order for paints and canvases and all of that fun stuff.
That's not something who is planning to someone who is planning to kill themselves.
No, that's somebody who is planning for the future.
Yes.
He also that very day had sent a letter to his dear brother Theo.
And thank goodness for those letters.
Yes. They're still around. Mm-hmm. They're in the vault. But he had sent this letter and it talked about how well he was doing. It talked about the future and why. I mean, why would he wrote about his angst before. Why would he lie about...
He was so honest with his brother, always.
Yes, his brother was his favorite.
He wasn't afraid to tell his brother if he was depressed.
No, his brother was always there by his side. He helped him through so much. So he would have been honest with him if he were in a bad state again.
Yes.
But no, it was it was an uplifting... Right? Uplifting?
Uplifted.
Upbeat. An upbeat letter. So,
I mean, he was walking on sunshine.
He was.
Basically.
He was walking on sunflowers.
Yes.
Which could be kind of painful. Those things are pokey.
They are. But he did it for his art, and it felt good because of that.
It made him feel alive.
Yes. That's what I was picturing.
Yeah. So... I'm sorry, but those are good reasons why. I mean, it probably didn't happen, okay? But those are not the only reasons.
Oh, no, because we need a suspect.
Oh, yes. So, some good reasons, though, I will go into we'll talk a little bit about why they say it was suicide.
Why they would want to believe it, why they would want us to believe it, why Vincent himself may have wanted us to believe it.
Exactly. So... for one, it was an easy reason. I mean, he had been suffering in the past. He had suicidal tendencies in the past. So of course, you know, that
People
makes
are gonna
sense.
assume it.
Yeah,
Easy.
it's a better story. I mean, I'm not saying it is. It's not, but it is.
But the tortured artists killing themselves. I mean, it's a tale as old as
Vincent.
Yeah.
And beyond.
And beyond and before.
Yeah. Also because he came in after he was shot in the stomach and said, "I've wounded myself." Okay, that sounds like he did it to himself, right?
But you say, "I stubbed my toe," and
Nice.
people aren't like, "Why did you do
Why
that?
did you do that to yourself?" No. Okay. So in the town where Vincent was living, he had gone his whole life really being bullied, you know?
Yeah, he was
an odd man.
He looked odd, he acted oddly.
He did odd things.
Poor beautiful Vincent.
Well, he had some bullies in his town. Young kids, like they were 16-ish. Around that age. They were teenagers, and they were always giving Van Gogh heck. They would do stupid things like put salt in his tea and watch him and laugh and think it was
Little
hilarious. He was known to, when he was thinking and pondering while he was painting, he would put the ends of his paintbrushes in his mouth, as we do with like pens and pencils. And they thought it would be hilarious to dip the ends of his paintbrushes in hot peppers and watch his mouth turn to fire.
They didn't have a lot to do, did they?
No, they just sat around and watched poor Vincent. And they even went as far as to put a snake into his paint box once. Ugh. So they gave him lots of hard times. Mainly one guy in the group whose name was Rene Secretan.
There's always one, and he always has to have the douchiest name possible.
René. He was French.
Yeah,
So.
I mean, I guess it's a fine name. But I don't know, guy named Rene.
Yeah, I know. It's just, I mean, sorry any guys named Rene out there. You may not be douchey, but...
Sorry guys, but I'm not trying to... Let's just continue.
Yes. So Rene was this pompous, douchey guy who loved Buffalo Bill.
He loved Buffalo
Bill, and he decided that he was going to dress like a cowboy every day. I mean,
really
like,
cool.
Wearing chaps and everything. Like, he dressed like a cowboy, and he carried around a malfunctioning pistol.
What's that you say?
A malfunctioning pistol.
Question. Sorry, but was there ever a murder weapon found for Van Gogh?
No.
Interesting. Proceed.
Thank you. He famously carried around this malfunctioning pistol everywhere he went. It would sometimes misfire.
Good heavens.
Yeah. So this kid was a jerk, didn't like Van Gogh, whatever, right? Okay. So fast forward to poor 37-year-old Vincent. One day, heads out into the field with his paintbrush, his paint and canvas,
his toolbox,
carried them out to go paint, and came back later that evening without his gear, holding his stomach, saying, "I've wounded myself." So
that's most peculiar.
Most peculiar indeed. Curiouser and curiouser.
The wind just rose and the rain picked up.
So 29 hours later, Vincent dies. But in the meantime, his brother Theo was notified. He got to come and be by his side while he died.
Theo, bless you.
And the whole time, he never said that anybody did anything to him, but he never said that he did it to himself either. And now, fast forwarding this many years, they've done studies, forensic studies, that show that the way that the bullet went into his stomach would have been nearly impossible for him to have done himself.
How strange.
Very, very strange indeed. What else? He for one, many people think that he possibly could have gotten shot by this kid, whether it was on purpose or not. This group of boys came up.
They could have just been threatening him.
Could have been bullying him.
Waving the thing around.
And it misfired. Might not have been on purpose. And Van Gogh, living his 37 years of life, who had been known to say that he wouldn't try to fight death if it came.
He didn't. He wasn't planning to kill himself, but if death came to him,
he would welcome it.
Almost sounds like a premonition.
Yeah, it does. So maybe he saw these 16-year-old boys, knew that it was an accident, and thought, they have the rest of their lives ahead of them. I've lived. I'm gonna go ahead and take I'm not gonna say anything, because what would happen to these kids if.
He probably thought nothing could be gained by it.
Exactly. So he, a lot of people say that he probably took the blame.
That's incredibly selfless.
It really, really is. And so what do you think?
I know you were asking a rhetorical question there, but
no, I do.
I think he didn't do it.
I honestly, I really don't think he did.
I think Van Gogh didn't. Yeah. I think Rene somehow did it.
I do too.
I think that he was
escalating. On purpose or a mistake.
Yeah. He was escalating in his bullying behavior. Mm-hmm. Van Gogh was an easy target. He was alone. I don't think he would have shot himself in such a way to cause ultimate suffering.
Yeah.
The way he did. I mean, most people, if they kill themselves, they're going to shoot themselves in the head.
Yes. Why would you shoot yourself in the stomach, not knowing whether you're going to hit a vital organ?
Yeah.
You would shoot yourself in the head. Exactly. You would make it quick. You wouldn't.
If you want to die, if you truly want to die, that's what you're going to do.
Exactly. No, it was known that Vincent did not carry, he didn't have a gun. He didn't carry a gun. There was no weapon found anywhere. How? I mean, how does it make any sense?
Oh, and I think you mentioned that guns back then too would have left.
Yes. So it would have gunpowder that had the invisible smoke, not invisible smoke.
It didn't leave the marks.
Residue.
Yeah, residue.
It would have the gunpowder that they used then. Well, they had to use gunpowder that was black, and it came out in a puff.
And it would have been all over his hands.
All over his hands, and there was no gunpowder residue. Also, the markings that the entry wound left was telling of it being a distance away, about a foot to 2 feet away from his stomach. So
this seems like such a tragedy to me, because it reminds me of how people with mental illnesses are not taken seriously if they're victimized in some way. Or sex workers they talk about now too, they lived a high risk life, this is probably what happened, let's not worry about it. Because he had struggled with mental illness, it was just so easy to say
that's just what it was.
Oh yeah. And what a weird way to die. Oh well, he's just a weirdo.
Yeah, exactly. There were also no police records at all found. So it is just they just said, it was suicide. That was it. There was no questioning. It was just what it was.
And people didn't have, there's just no way they could do the level of police work they would do now.
No.
My question that I ask myself, because I've heard this story a couple times now, and I've been thinking about it, as impressed as I am that he wanted to protect these kids.
Yeah.
Did he do the right thing?
Normally
I would say you always got to report someone if they harm you.
Yeah.
But if it were an accident, that changes things.
It does, yeah. I think that he
to show compassion to somebody who has tormented you is the highest level of just humility, and it's so beautiful, and I can hardly imagine being that good of a person.
No, I know. It's insane. maybe he realized that the kid was just, because the weird thing too is that he also hung out with these kids. Like he enjoyed, it's not like he enjoyed it, but
He had
it's
some
like
level
he had
of-
some kind of, he got attention from it. He had, the other kids, I think there were two other boys that hung out with Renee, one of his brothers, and somebody else weren't as bad to him as Renee was. And so he kind of enjoyed them. He bought them, he was known to buy them drinks and stuff. And so they
when
were
you're as lonely as he was.
exactly.
Yeah.
Any kind of, I mean, I don't know. He definitely was, don't be a dang martyr.
Don't. I mean, that's literal martyrdom.
Yeah.
Father, forgive them. They know not what they do.
Yes.
My goodness.
Ugh, I hope what happened was that it happened accidentally. Renee threw the pistol away and never used it again and took off those damn chaps and dressed like a normal
Maybe he changed
human.
his damn life after that.
And he changed his life.
Hopefully he felt like crap.
Yeah, I mean, oh,
to
my
take Van
gosh.
Gogh away from us at 37.
Yes.
And I mean, now that there was a time when I thought that was old.
Me too.
Now I'm like, he was a baby.
Think of all of the work that he did. The masterpieces that he created in 37 years. And what?
I just had the best idea.
What?
Okay, how old are we? We're 33, right?
I'm 34. You're 33.
Okay, I'm about to be 34.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so that gives us about 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
We need to create as much awesome stuff as we can before we turn 37. Not because we're going to accidentally get shot in the stomach, but as a tribute
to Van Gogh.
To Van Gogh.
Okay.
3 years. We can do this.
We can do it. I mean, I had a 30-year bucket list that I wanted to try to complete before I was 30, and I would say 99% of the shit did not get done.
You need to pick one thing. Let's pick one thing.
Okay.
I'm going to make my novel readable.
Okay.
I wrote it, but it is not yet ready for human consumption.
I'm going to figure out what mine is.
Okay.
Maybe I will.
Man, there's
maybe
so many
I'll
things.
start. Maybe I will start shooting black and white film again for myself.
Please do.
And look into dusting off my darkroom equipment and getting that running.
I want you to do that.
Me too.
And create a book.
Yeah.
Yes, a book of your black and white film. You can get experimental, you can get dark, you can do whatever you want because it's yours.
Yes.
Speaking of dark.
What?
Are we ready to move on to something else weird?
Oh, I want to know you're something weird. I want you to something weird all over me, baby.
I've got something weird all over the walls.
Oh, good.
You're going to need a sponge.
Oh my gosh. I hope that I retold that story, okay? Because I was like,
as far as I can tell,
all
you
over
did it
it
beautifully.
Oh my God. Oh
but
my God.
it's like somebody who went to see Harry Potter after having read the books.
Yes.
I already know all the information.
You know, I almost got tired, and because I've told this story now so much to people, I almost wanted to, I was looking at you. Mm-hmm. You know how sometimes you have a big story and you're just so exhausted of talking about it that you're like, I'll tell you later.
Yes.
I kind of wanted to be like, can we not anymore? I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want them to know. I don't even care.
You know what?
Love you guys.
Something that Karen Kilgariff said on My Favorite Murder has stuck with me.
What is it?
It's an episode where Georgia is trying to do accents.
Uh-huh.
And she keeps feeling stupid and stopping and saying she's terrible. And Karen said, no, you always feel like an idiot and want to give up halfway through. You have to keep going.
Oh.
And I realized that's true of everything in my life.
Yeah, me too.
When I start teaching a new Zumba routine and I practiced it 50 million times, I'm bringing it to class for the first time. To me, I'm already like, this is
dumb.
This is dumb. Why? This is not good. And everyone's smiling and dancing. And I'm like, no, you always feel stupid halfway through.
Yeah.
You got to keep going.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to keep telling myself that then too.
Keep telling your stories.
Okay.
Okay, now here's the funny thing about mine.
Mm-hmm.
It is not quite appropriate for the subject matter in the sense that it's not a story.
Mm-hmm.
It is a subject matter
that
I find interesting.
I love that. It doesn't need to be a story.
It doesn't. And it is much closer to what I want to do for this than my previous one, which was that I rambled on about a movie for about 5 minutes. with a lot of long pauses. And
Was it only 5? It felt so much longer.
So much longer.
I'm kidding. I love you.
Let me tell you that if this seems like a mess, just imagine how low my standards are, because the other one I wanted thrown out. Okay? I'm bringing you as the best that I can right now.
She's got notes.
I've got notes.
I'm so proud of you.
I wasted a bunch of printer ink because I printed out full images on these papers.
Oops.
Yeah,
It's okay.
It's fine. My husband, he's cool with it.
Yeah.
He loves
Printer
me.
ink is
That's what it's there for.
exactly
To print a black square with white lettering,
Yeah.
which is what I'm about to read from you.
Get
to
it.
you.
Okay. From me.
So, we live in a world where most people are pretty normal.
Mm-hmm.
Most people have a conscience. Most people can be trusted.
Yeah.
But we also know that there are enough crazy or dangerous or very highly intelligent, manipulative people making you think that they're normal,
Mm-hmm.
that crimes tend to happen
Yeah.
and things go wrong.
Indeed.
And we don't always know why. And in studying this subject, which I'm going to tell you right now,
Mm-hmm.
psychopaths
Yes.
and sociopaths,
Yes. Because those two things get
there's a lot of
flip-flopped a lot.
Yes, there's a lot of flip-flop. There is some overlap, and there is still disagreement from the experts,
Mm-hmm.
which makes any subject like this hard to research
Right.
because there's always someone being like, oh no, everyone's gotten it wrong till now. Read my paper. I don't know
Yeah.
what accent that was. But the first thing I'm going to do
Mm-hmm.
is test you, Melody.
Okay.
I want
God.
to find out once and for all if you're a psychopath.
I can tell you right now, but go ahead.
Now, I know that this is a test that's been done in other places, but this is slightly different wording.
Oh my God, I'm so scared.
It's just a simple question.
Okay.
You just have to answer it honestly.
Okay, fudge.
Here is the story of a young girl at her mother's funeral. She saw an unknown man. He was charming. Really, he was the man of her dreams. She madly fell in love with him. After a couple of days, the young girl killed her own sister. Question: what motive did she have to do it?
I'm scared to tell you.
Oh, I want to know. You have one. Please do tell me.
Oh my God. I know what it is.
You know what it is.
And it's going to make me a psychopath.
I want to hear it.
But it... because she thought she'd see him again.
Congratulations.
I am a psychopath.
You think like a psychopath.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. That doesn't make you a psychopath.
Uh-huh.
A lot of people have psychopathic traits.
I'm so scared right now.
It doesn't mean you're a psychopath. But yes, the reason that a psychopath would think that way is because they are known to show very little conscience, very little empathy,
Mm-hmm.
to display reckless behavior, and to think along the lines of, well, it worked. It
Yeah.
worked for my purposes, so what was wrong with it?
Ugh.
Those people do exist.
Listen, I swear I don't think that way, but
No,
it's just,
no.
I was like, well, he would probably show up to the sister's funeral
Exactly.
then too.
That just means you're smart.
Yeah,
And
that's
it
what
means
I
that
think.
you'd
My
make-
IQ is through the roof,
You'd
guys.
make a great criminal profiler.
Yeah,
You'd be
I'm-
like, I know why he did this. Why she did this.
I've said that if I had another career, if I could do it all over, I would do criminal psychology, because I am so intrigued
It's
as to why
fascinating.
these things, like why and how
Why?
criminals think the way that they do.
I listen to these true crime things constantly
Mhm.
because I'm trying to figure that out too. And I think it stems from, for me and for a lot of people who are fascinated by it, by having had maybe somebody in your life who has been a sociopath or possibly even a psychopath,
Mm-hmm.
and dealt with them and been burned by them and wondered what made that person the way
Yes.
they are, what makes them tick.
Yeah.
And also, even if you never dealt with one, it's just a matter of it's fascinating.
And I think that probably most of us have.
Yeah,
Even if
think so
we
too.
don't realize it, if we have been, I don't want to say, like, if you've been lucky enough not to have to realize that you're dealing with one, great. But I bet you most people have.
In doing this research, I thought again and again of a person who used to be in my life who ticked the sociopath boxes so perfectly that it was just crazy.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is people who are sociopaths are often narcissists.
Yep.
And that is so hard to diagnose.
Yes.
Because first of all, if you're a narcissist, of course you don't think there's anything wrong with you. You're not going to go seek help for that.
Right.
Secondly, being a master manipulator, you can make most psychologists see and believe what you want them to. You know how to answer the questions.
Exactly. And just because you're narcissistic does not mean that you are a psychopath either. We took tests, remember?
Yes, I have some tendencies.
I understand the psychopath question. You had some narcissistic tendencies.
Yeah.
Weird. That doesn't make us.
No, it doesn't. And it's not the same thing as
It
being
also doesn't make us not.
psychotic, by the way.
Yes.
People with sociopathy, who I feel so fancy saying that, suffer from something called antisocial personality disorder. And this is one of those things, I won't say it's a pet peeve because I hate to be pedantic. Anyone who says that likes being pedantic. Anyways. Hate to be a know-it-all. A lot of people misuse the word antisocial.
Right.
I mean, you hear it all the time, and I notice it. I notice, oh, I don't want to go to that party. I'm so antisocial.
Yes.
Oh, he always sits in the corner and plays with the cats instead of talking to the people because he's antisocial.
Yes.
That's not actually what antisocial means.
No.
Antisocial is more being toxic, not being able to have healthy relationships or form healthy connections.
Right.
So a sociopath and a psychopath. Let's just run down the difference between each of them. A sociopath has antisocial personality disorder. A psychopath, total lack of empathy and a conscience, which is really hard to believe.
Yeah.
They're both impulsive, but a psychopath is highly impulsive, whereas a sociopath is varied. They can control their impulses a little bit. Psychopath tends to show erratic behavior. I'm thinking like Richard Ramirez or even like Ted Bundy towards the end.
Yeah.
Sociopaths are more controlled, which in my opinion, I was asking myself, would I rather deal with a sociopath or a psychopath? Normally you think, oh, of course, a sociopath because they're less severe is what most people believe. But they're also, they can hide so easily.
They hide in plain sight until they're ready to show their erratic behavior.
And as far as criminal behavior, psychopaths tend to leave clues and act on impulse. And I think that's interesting. There's this level of desire. I used to think, is it guilt? Do they leave clues because they want to be caught and they want to be stopped? Maybe. Or maybe they just like the game and they want the attention.
Yeah.
If you have no conscience, then you don't really care about whether you're stopped, do you?
No, exactly.
Now, a sociopath has a more tendency to take controlled risks, premeditate crimes, go for criminal opportunities or fraud, or calculated or opportunistic violence.
So, wait a second. When they say that a psychopath will leave clues, does that mean purposeful clues?
Yeah.
Okay. Because then I would think that the opposite would be true then for what they're saying for a sociopath, that they
like to minimize evidence and exposure.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I think I may have read that a little confusingly.
No, that's okay. My brain was just, it's a lot to take in.
It's a lot to take
in.
I know. I feel like a criminal psychologist. My phone is buzzing and it's an unknown number.
Oh, hit decline on that shiz.
I think a lot of psychopaths live in Kansas. I'm sorry.
Oh my God.
And I just realized that's your phone.
Is it my phone?
It is your phone.
Well, thank you for turning it off.
But it is an unknown number, so.
That's funny.
Social relationships with a psychopath they're pretty much unable to maintain normal relationships. And once again, I think of a lot of the more famous serial killers that you hear of. But a sociopath has a tendency to appear superficially normal in social relationships, and they're often social predators. Yeah. They have an ability to just sniff out weakness and exploit it.
Yep.
Now, their predispositions for violence are also different. Psychopaths, very high predisposition for violence, whereas a sociopath is varied. They may not even be violent at all. They may have other ways of getting them out. Now, I was wondering, like, what causes this? A lot of people say childhood abuse, but then you have other cases where you hear about people having perfectly normal, lovely childhoods.
Where Ted Bundy, for example, who said that he had a perfectly normal, like, wonderful upbringing.
He just said he always had the devil in him or something. I can't remember the exact quote, but it's very interesting. But I found from an article by Tanya J. Peterson that damage isn't the only thing that can cause the brain to develop abnormally. Sociopath tests that illustrate brain functioning, such as fMRIs and EEGs, show without a doubt that there are brain-based causes of sociopathy. Biology, nature, unquestionably contributes to antisocial personality disorder. So it's once again that old nature and nurture thing. I really do think that it's usually a combination. Yeah. And, you know, you hear about cases of terrible child abuse, which I hate to even think about, where children were neglected so badly in early stages that they weren't able to develop that empathy.
Right. Yep.
But the fact is, not everyone who was terribly abused turns out that way. I know a few people who, for instance, you look at their family that they were raised in and you see that they have 3 other siblings
that have turned out just fine.
Turned out normally.
That had the same upbringing.
Yeah, and maybe some of the same hardships.
Yes.
It's so interesting.
It really, really is.
So, people... Oh, okay. Hold on.
So what do they say about psychopaths and their
reason?
Yeah.
That one was a little bit harder to find. So we may need to delve deeper into that.
I wonder if it's kind of the same too. Yeah. Which it kind of makes me so it does make me so sad that you know, it's just like some of us are blessed to be born perfectly healthy and never have a thing wrong. Illness wise, like it just nothing, just luck, just a matter of damn luck. Yeah. And then some of us can be born with, you know, mental disabilities. Some can be born with, you know, any type of illness. And then these people that are born with or have these psychopathic tendencies, like maybe really could not have helped it, and there's nothing that can be done. You can't, there's no medication for this type of thing, is there? For
I think there are levels of therapy for it, but like I said, I think that it's very hard to diagnose and cure unless it's like extreme.
Yeah. And a lot of the time too, I think it's a matter of even the person seeking help. Oh yeah. Being able to get help.
And whether or not they really want it. Yeah. But I think about like people who had everything stacked against them. Yeah. I mean, genetically, they're not predisposed to be able to feel empathy as much. They have something with their brain that doesn't fire where their conscience should be. Yeah. I mean, I'm not speaking in scientific terms, but then they're horrifically abused. Yeah. And it's like, wow, how could that person have turned out differently? Yes. And usually when I hear these people's stories, when I hear about the early parts of their lives, I feel so sorry for them. Yeah. And then you get into what they did later on and you're like, oh.
I feel sorry for the tiny them
that they could have,
that they had to endure. But oh gosh, it's so
Another interesting thing is that psychopaths, like they feel less guilt, of course. Sociopaths, they may be able to develop some bonds, and so I'm thinking of sort of like the ones that are sort of mama's boys, like you know, I'll beat my wife, but
I would never do it.
I love my mama, and she'll defend me to her dying day. Yeah. You know, there are weird things that happen like that, and psychopaths tend to show no concern for the consequences of their actions. So like you hear about people who, you know, got convicted of murdering 20 people, and when the verdict's read, it's like they show no reaction. Yeah. That's fascinating to me too.
Or an exciting reaction. Yeah. Excited reaction.
Yeah. Exciting. They do a really entertaining
They stand up and do a tap dance. Yeah.
Yeah. And then everyone's like, well,
Oh, at least he's happy.
I mean, look at all the work he put into that. So I found an interesting article by a woman named M.E. Thompson.
Mm-hmm. Talking to your side.
Thomas. Sorry. She is
that's much better.
the author of Confessions of a Sociopath.
Ooh.
She is diagnosed herself as a sociopath.
Really?
And she writes about it. And I thought this was an interesting thing to bring up because we talk about them, the horrible things they tend to do, how you want to protect yourself from them. All that's true. But they're still, in a sense, people. I mean, they are people.
Well, yeah.
Not even in a sense. They are people. And I guess you can't just say they're worthless or they're all evil either.
Right.
It's so interesting. So here's what she says about herself. I'm a diagnosed sociopath, but that doesn't mean I'm an evil serial killer. You would like me if you met me. I'm fun, exciting, the perfect office escort. Your boss's wife has never met anyone quite so charming. I've never stalked prison halls. I prefer mine to be covered in ivy, which must mean that she's like a Ivy League person. I don't know. She's clever, okay? More clever than me. I'm accomplished and easy to talk to, but perhaps the most remarkable thing about me is my ability to blend in seamlessly in my surroundings. Everyone, she says, has met a sociopath, probably without realizing it. Sociopaths are notoriously difficult to spot, particularly since most people don't know what to look for. I feel like if you have dealt with a sociopath and been hurt by one, you will
pick up on it a lot easier.
But if you haven't, it's so easy. It's so easy to be manipulated because they're really, really good about it.
Yep.
The sociopath that I knew that I used to be close to was obsessed with learning to read people. This person would read books on body language. They would watch shows on it. They would talk about it all the time. They believed that they could pick up on people's motives. And they usually believed people's motives were bad, which I think is projecting too. But she says that it's a myth that sociopaths are psychotic and that... it's not the same thing as psychosis, which is a condition characterized by derangement and detachment from reality that might take the form of delusions and hallucinations. We're not crazy, she says. And the truth is that some of us are quite successful. It's just that we live, think, and make decisions in a way that some people find loathsome and most disturbingly amoral. She also says it's a myth that sociopaths are all violent, sadistic killers. Most psychopaths are not violent, she says. And most violent people are not psychopaths. According to psychologist and researcher Scott Lilienfeld, sociopaths have a constant need for stimulation. They're very easily bored. And that can sometimes manifest itself in malicious or violent acts, particularly if those are the opportunities that regularly present themselves to the sociopath. And then she says, I'm not necessarily a sadist. I intentionally hurt people sometimes, but don't we all? For the most part, I find my stimulation through more legitimate routes, thrill-seeking sports, risky stock trading, and the occasional consensual choking of a significant other. So you kind of hear different things. You hear that they tend to be violent, but then you hear from this actual diagnosed sociopath that says no, most sociopaths and psychopaths are not violent. They appear normal. And also, they're not all men. A lot of people think they are.
Yeah.
Not true. Definitely not true in my opinion. And they're not inhuman. She says that when she first started writing about sociopathy, she hoped to help people realize that sociopaths are natural human variants. And she says, I thought at the time that the big challenge would be to try to showcase some of our strengths in a more positive light, to demonstrate that we are not as bad as people might think. Recently, I've been thinking that the real problem is not in getting normal people to believe we're better than they think, but in getting them to see that normal ones are actually worse than they believe themselves to be. And then she says basically what we talked about, that we all have these traits. And that's the same thing with all psychological disorders. It's only when it's like in a very clear cluster and it's very defined that they say, okay, this is the label that we have to put on you. So, and then, those were myths about sociopaths. I've found another article on myths about psychopaths that says popular culture has offered some flamboyant, unrealistic images of the psychopath: the giggling, twitchy maniac, the silent masked slasher, the snobbish, culturally refined, highly intelligent cannibal, and, depending on how much you like your job, your boss. Another potentially misleading image appears in the recent trend to imply that anyone with some psychopathic traits, or maybe that fail a psychopath test, is a psychopath. For example, in the eyes of some, a surgeon with a rotten bedside manner and no inclination to weep with sympathy as he cuts you open to repair your faulty heart valve nudges his occupation higher on the list of professions with the most psychopaths. An alternative view suggests that this person might be an ambitious, no-nonsense professional with limited people skills who wants you to live. He studies for years, trains diligently, and ends up operating on you to repair your faulty heart and extend your life. So, in the end... Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
I hope I didn't ruin that recording.
I've been watching the whole time. I'm like,
damn it.
It's like this.
I can't read and hold my mic right at the same time.
It's so hard to be looking down.
It looks so much better now. I need to hold it up like this.
Yeah. Or maybe we need to just put the
thingies back.
Thing up.
I think that's a good idea. When I have a lot of notes, I need to have the thingy up.
I think so.
I hope you guys were able to hear all of that mess.
It'll be fine.
Yeah.
It'll be fine. So basically what I took from that is that I'm still just as confused, and you just are never going to know.
It's weird. It's freaking so weird. But the key is, if you're dealing with a sociopath, there's really not much you can do but get out of their way. I've been to therapy because of the sociopath in my life. And
I should probably be.
Yeah, I should probably still be going.
Yeah.
The therapist basically said, treat them like you would a human storm. You can't fix this person. You can't reason with them. The more you talk to them, the more they'll try to manipulate you.
Yeah. Just
get out of their path.
Yeah.
And that's what I've chosen to do.
That's what I've done as well.
So they may not be bad people in the sense of, they're not cut and dry villains the way we may look at it. We may be exactly that way with their brain chemistry or their upbringing. Still doesn't mean we shouldn't stay out of their way.
Exactly. If it's torturous to you, get out of the way.
Get out of the way. It's not going to end well for anyone. But I want to end on a positive note.
Yes.
Here is a quotation, and I'm going to hold this up here, from the sociopath next door. It says, "Do not allow someone without a conscience, or even a string of such people, to convince you that humanity is a failure. Most human beings do possess conscience. Most human beings are able to love."
Yeah, I agree.
I agree too.
I think that.
And I love you.
And I like you.
I care about you.
Tell all your friends I like cotton candy, Kay?
Okay, bye.
Bye. Wave when I wave. So in these Something Weird episodes, should we still have fake sponsors?
I think so.
Okay, I do too. This week, we don't have a sponsor, fake or real.
This week is sponsored by your patience.
This week is sponsored by this being a test and hopefully a passing one.
Hopefully at least passing enough that you want to learn more.
Hopefully at least passing enough that you've tolerated it for the last hour.
And you know what? If you have tolerated all 22 episodes,
you keep coming back because they're just going to get better.
They're going to get better. Find us and we will do whatever you want.
Yes, we will. We will. We're not just telling you that because we are psychopath or sociopaths.
No. Although we may be.
We probably
I don't
have tendencies.
But
don't we all?
Don't we all?
Just don't murder people.
And if you're gonna choke someone, just make it consensual.
Exactly. And if you're gonna shoot somebody in the belly, own up to it.
Yeah, please do. Or choose somebody who's so gentle and kind and not for this world that they won't turn you in, and count your lucky stars.
Exactly.
That's the sociopath's plan. All right.
Okay, later.
Later.
Gator.